Hey guys, so in order to determine how human identity is measurement dependent in a technological space, we must first define what human identity, measurement dependence, and what a technological space are. So human identity can be defined as who or what a human being is and what we as humans consider to make us humans. Something that is measurement dependent is an entity that does not have any characteristics until they are measured. And lastly, a technological space is any setting that includes the involvement of any type of technology. So when you look at society today, it is very rare to find any situation in which there's no interaction between humans and technology. So our society has relied upon technology so much that everything that we do involves technology. And in fact, we would not be able to live without technology because we would lose so much of our identity as humans. So there are two types of views of quantum measurement that I would like to apply to this situation. The first is mild interpretation. So the mild interpretation view of quantum mechanics is a view that looks at only the basic entities of the world, which is like protons, neutrons, electrons, etc. And it says that, or the way that it looks at these is that they're the only things that can be measured, and they're measurement dependent, which means that, again, that they don't have any characteristics until we measure them. So the mild interpretation also supports the idea that there are no macro objects that can be in a superposition after being measured. So what this means is that nothing can be characterized as being in two states at a time once it is measured. So for example, something cannot be both hungry and full at the same time, or tired and well rested. The reason is that the wave function collapses after the photon reaches the detector before we can experience a macro-level object being in a superposition, although micro-level objects have the ability to be in a superposition. On the other hand, the moderate interpretation view of quantum measurement looks at all objects as being composed of smaller particles, which in turn qualifies all macro objects to be considered quantum entities that could be measured if they are broken down back into their most basic units. So for example, a pencil is made up of a multitude of smaller particles, and since these particles are considered to be quantum entities, then the pencil that is made up of all these quantum entities is a quantum entity itself. So the moderate view also believes that quantum entities can exist in a superposition before measurement, just like the mild view. However, after measurement has occurred upon these entities, then superposition becomes extinct due to the wave function collapsing before we can experience something being in a state of superposition. So we cannot define or characterize quantum entities without the use of measurement, and this means that in the view of the moderate interpretation, quantum entities are measurement independent. So the biggest difference between the two interpretations is that they both view what counts as a quantum entity differently. The mild view sees only micro-level objects as quantum entities, and the moderate view sees both micro-level and broken-down macro-level objects as quantum entities. Only micro-level objects can be in a superposition according to the mild interpretation, and both macro-level and micro-level objects can be in a superposition according to the moderate interpretation. So how do these interpretations mix into the idea of human identity being measurement dependent in a technological space? Well, looking at the mild view, we see that it is only concerned with just the fundamental entities of objects, the micro-level objects. So we consider what human identity is when we do not zoom on the micro-level entities of which we as humans are composed of. Instead, we look at the macro-level entities that are constructed from the micro-level entities to base our understanding of what it means to be human off of. However, I believe that this train of thought is misleading and must be shifted towards a different direction. We must deconstruct ourselves into micro-level objects in order to truly understand ourselves as human beings. I think the best example of this phenomenon would be the comparison of DNA between humans and other species of animals. So genetics is a huge area of science in which technology is put to use all the time. This branch of science would probably never exist without the use of technology, and in turn we would not be able to describe the genetic differences we have amongst ourselves and animals. Without the distinction of the genetic makeup of animals and humans, we lose the knowledge of what it means to be human, or in other words, we lose our human identity. So our human identity is measurement dependent upon the findings of genetics and their measurements. For example, all of the great apes and humans differ from rhesus monkeys. All of the great apes and humans differ from rhesus monkeys by about 7% in their DNA, according to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History's webpage about genetics. So the page discusses what it means to be human through the view of genetics. With the use of technology, geneticists can conclude that our genetic makeup does not deviate very far away from animals' genetic makeup. They can look all the way down to the core of the DNA that constructs both species and determine key differences. This is parallel to the idea of taking a mild quantum measurement because you're only looking at the basic components as measurable, not the macro level objects, such as like the whole body instead of like the actual DNA.